Right guys, today I'm going to show you 3 key methods to accelerate muscle growth by following key principles that I use myself to go from 50 kg to 150 kg and help you implement these 3 principles to help you maximise your genetic potential. Right, let's first start with nutrition, as this is key to putting on muscle tissue. In order to gain muscle tissue, your body has to be in a caloric surplus. Basically this means eating more calories than you burn in order to put your body in an anabolic state, and this means basically a state of growth, which you want to get bigger. Right, and training is the fun part and the food is the hard part, but gaining muscle mass is largely based on food intake, and it's better to get your macros in through real food than from all this processed shit and lots of supplements which aren't necessary at a beginning stage. The 3 main macros are carbs, proteins and fats, and for muscle growth the most important macronutrient is protein, as this is responsible for repairing and building new muscle tissue. When it comes to food choice, although lots of people are advocating vegan and vegetarian diets at the moment, in the end of the day, meat is the best dense source of protein and therefore should be implemented into your diet. For example, a standard bodybuilding meal is chicken and rice. To make this meal more tasty, you could do stuff like adding vegetables like pepper and peas, so it's not as boring or bland. Although I generally say supplements aren't necessary for muscle growth, I do advocate supplements like whey protein and multivitamins, as they can help you keep your food on track and keep your health in check in terms of multivitamins. And all of your meals should be balanced in terms of fats, carbs and proteins, but they should all contain vegetables in order to keep your body healthy and ticking over. In regards to protein intake per person, the suggested calculation is 1 gram per pound of body weight. This ensures you get enough protein for your specific body. So the general principle in regards to food is the more food you eat, the more muscle mass you'll put on and the stronger you'll become. It is essential to be in a caloric surplus if you want to gain muscle tissue. That's the basic principle in terms of nutrition. Now that we've covered how to fuel your body, we will now cover how to utilise that fuel. So the basic principle of training is to use progressive overload every session. Progressive overload means gradually increasing the intensity. For example, increasing the weight. A specific example of this is, for example, me doing 120 kg bench press for 8 reps this week. Then following the principle, next week I would aim for 120 kg bench for 9 reps. So I've gained an additional rep from last week. This is following that progressive overload principle. For your training, you should be aiming to train every body part at least once a week to ensure your muscles have the appropriate stimulus to grow. Lots of people ask the question, do I do lightweight and high reps or high weight and low reps? I personally think it's between both. So for example, the prime hypertrophy range is 8 to 12 reps, where the 12th rep is failure, and this is far superior to doing just heavy training or just light training, because neither of them are like the most beneficial or optimal for growing muscle. It's in between. In regards to training time, I personally recommend around 2 hours for training. However, if it is legs, I'd recommend at least 3 hours, as legs are the largest muscle in the body, therefore require extra time. Each individual performs best at different times when training. For example, some people like training in the morning, while some like training in the evening. Personally, I think 2 PM is like the golden time to train, as you've woken up and you've eaten a couple of meals and you've done something else productive before you go to train. During the session, the best way to optimise your training is to use a variation of training techniques. But firstly, the first part of your session should focus on powerlifting and heavy compound movements. For example, squatting. You should do around an hour of heavy compounds before moving on to bodybuilding specific exercises like machines. A great method to pump up your muscles is time under tension training, and at the end of your session, high volume is useful to pump blood through the muscles. For example, after you've trained chest, doing high volume on the cable for like chest flies and that sort of thing is a good way of pumping blood through the muscle. In terms of who to train with, if you're starting out, finding someone who's trained at a higher level for a while would help accelerate your progression a lot. Basically, finding someone who will take you under their wing, like a bodybuilder, will go a long way. However, in regards to training partners, I believe training with someone is more beneficial than training on your own, as they will motivate you and push you to work harder. But this is dependent on personality. People with introverted personalities are better suited to train on their own. However, someone with an extroverted personality is likely to perform better if they train with someone. Overall, if you train hard, train long, and follow the progressive overload principle, your lifts will progress and you'll get stronger and gain a lot of muscle mass. Sleep is very important for muscle growth as your muscles repair when you sleep. Sleep also gives you enough energy in order to be able to effectively train the following day, and a good quality sleep will aid your recovery quicker and reduce things like DOMS, which means delayed onset muscle soreness. In terms of recovery, there are a few methods like stretching, hot and cold treatment and sports massage, which obviously it's expensive to get an actual physio person to do it, so you can get like a massage gun, which I use, which is really good for helping get rid of DOMS. But also in terms of stretching, it's very easy and beneficial as it ensures your muscles don't become tight and therefore will increase the range of movement at a joint, which will help you get better muscle contractions when you're training, which will lead to better growth and stimulus of the muscle. Right, and managing recovery will dramatically improve your optimal performance when training, and will also remove that nasty ache the day after you've trained, especially if it's like a leg day, which is horrible the day after. This is known as DOMS, basically that ache pain. In order to optimize your progress in building muscle, following all three principles will accelerate muscle growth and place your body in the perfect place to gain as much muscle tissue as your genetics will allow you to. Right, so to recap, for nutrition you have to be in a caloric surplus in order to gain muscle. Training, you have to follow the progressive overload principle in order to force your body to grow. Recovery, you have to get a good amount of sleep in and also stretch in order to reduce DOMS and optimize your performance.